Right, welcome to Unit 3 Vogcast. Just a little bit of advice for those of you taking the exam tomorrow. Firstly, manage your time. So you've got to do your resource question and make sure you give yourself enough time for that and for your two essays. Your essays, I assume most of you are going to do biodiversity and water supply. Remember, 10 marks, 15 marks, so you're looking at 15 minutes for part A and 25 minutes for part B. Might sit down. Lost my hair, that's since you lot bought me that cap, look at that. Dreadful. So 15 minutes for part A. Make sure in those part A questions you use the resource. You can use examples in it, but use the resource. I would get straight into it. I wouldn't worry about an introduction. You can possibly get a concluding paragraph in there, but make sure you use the resource, use the information there, and then you can use your examples as well. And then part B, more often than not, it's using named examples. So if you're doing your biodiversity question, make sure that you know your CITES examples, know your African elephant, your grey rhino, black rhino even, grey rhino. Black rhino, and use your hunting. Use the information from, if you remember, this sheet here. Can you see that? Hopefully you can. So make sure you do that. So the global trade bit for CITES. So if you're looking at global things, use CITES. You can use your Peace Parks initiative as well. You can use whaling, and then if you want to use Project Seahorse, that counts as both global and local, so use that. That's a good example. 50 countries involved internationally, and obviously it benefits the people of the Philippines, so it's a local and a global one. If they ask you about strategies, top-down strategies, bottom-up strategies, remember that. Make sure you look at the players involved. You've got World Heritage International, World Heritage International, United Nations and so on, but then national governments, you've got councils, then other players involved, you've got obviously the residents, the locals, if you're doing players for water, well, Greenpeace, environmentalists. If you're doing players for water, you've got hydroelectric companies, you've got water companies, what other players are we talking about as well? Any other stakeholders, residents who've been moved, and people who've got jobs involved as well. So again, remember the key players, the stakeholders. Use the word complex a lot. So I would make sure you just remember to use your examples and your local examples for biodiversity. Again, you can have your northern spotted owl in Oregon. You can have Project Seahorse again, which is local and global. You can use your Kenya example for elephants in Kenya. You can use your gorillas in the Virunga Hills. What else have we got? Maldives. Talk about the Maldives, the impact of global warming on the Maldives. So you can talk about the BRICS, China particularly. Snowdonia, national parks that we have in this country to protect. Countries with different levels of economic development. So countries with very low levels of economic development. People like if you think about the Amerindians or the Yanomami in the Amazon rainforest, they really protect their environment. Whereas, because they need to live with it and need to live with it sustainably, then as countries become more economically developed, well, think about Carajás as well. So Brazil goes from its subsistence tribes, its native Amazon tribes, to then Carajás, the iron ore mine, and that will obviously have a huge impact upon biodiversity by deforestation and so on. But this is as countries then sort of choose to go for economic development rather than conservation. And then as countries come out into the post-industrial countries like ourselves, Japan, USA, then actually we start to conserve again and recycle, and so you could use the northern spotted owl in Oregon or national parks in the UK and so on. So there are your links there. Use your examples though, and make sure you do them to tailor the question. So how successful have they been? Again, talk about how successful they've been. How much of a threat has it been? Some it's been a very severe threat. Some species have been threatened with extinction, and some have been saved due to conservation, and so on. Water examples, make sure you use your examples similarly for that. Remember positive and negative. It's not all negative with water, so generally these transfer schemes are designed to provide people with water. So remember your examples: Aral Sea, Three Gorges Dam, South-North transfer, Colorado River, the Middle East. Some of you might have done the Snowy Mountains. Were there any other examples that you did? Ganges and Brahmaputra as well. So to what extent are conflicts inevitable? You get conflicts in pretty much all of those, to be honest. Again, remember players that are involved in all these conflicts, as I just mentioned. But they do improve water supply for certain places, so do make sure you remember the positives as well as the negatives as well. And the questions that they've asked, just going through those. So if they ask about impact on people and environment, talk about the impact on people and the environment. Remember Ali's Three Gorges Dam example. How can they become a source of conflict? Agriculturalists, industry, etc. People being displaced, water companies, governments, and different countries, transboundary. So all those schemes that we've done are big, multi-mega schemes. Use your examples, and again, use the resource for part A. Good luck, manage your time. There's no point in doing 2 really good questions and then missing out a whole chunk. So make sure you manage your time well for that. Use your resource, use figures from the resource, and don't panic about it. You lot are all good, you'll do well. So best of luck for it all, and I hope it goes really well. Come and tell me on Friday, although we're involved in training all day, but yeah, come and let us know how it goes. Okay, good luck folks.